Alright. This is day 2. Let's see if we can keep this up. I recorded a video that is gonna be going out soon. I totally just missed the war sign up by like 2 minutes, but we can still talk about stuff. Oops. But there's a good amount of prep work going on. I think everybody's trying to figure out exactly what to do. They brought up some like interesting points in the video that I think like a day later I have some better thoughts on. As well as from a getting ready perspective, I think I know what I'm looking for now. I did want to do I'm thinking of like video ideas. This next one's probably just gonna be like perk related. Oh my god, there's a queue. This next one's probably gonna be more perk related. Like I was thinking like artifacts versus the new set bonuses, because there's a lot more info on the set bonuses now. We have an example of 3 of the different set bonuses, and we are just waiting on a few more. But I think artifacts versus the new gear types will be like a big point of contention for optimization, and that's something that will be really interesting to see how people work out. This queue is also really interesting from from an anti-war logging perspective. Like, it's a minor detail, but if you're going from war to war to war, you could literally just miss wars because you're in a queue. You and NA were so back? Yeah. It's all crazy. It's a little crazy. It'll be really interesting on like day 1 and day 2. But Valhalla's gonna have a queue next week. Oh yeah, 100%. If it has a queue now, it's gonna have a queue next week. There's no doubt in my mind. But there's a little bit more info in the official Discord today, so I figured we could talk about that for a little bit if we want to. The unfortunate thing is this is probably a pretty short day. Like, I don't think I can go much longer than 2 hours, and even then I probably want to do editing, so it might be like even shorter than that. But I at least wanted to like kind of show my thought process of how I'm gonna like prep out stuff for next season. Oh, this is a 700, is it? Oh, I love that. I love that great axe. But I'm thinking about putting together like a early on kind of PvE set. At least for like catacombs and stuff like that. Immediate thought is like probably like light SNS. Like light SNS spear I think would be okay. For tanking. This would be like the tanking is like relatively simple. Like tanking, like I have like heavy stuff. So like I don't know if it would necessarily be for tanking or if it would be like DPS or kind of a hybrid, because the way I see like catacombs is like based off of like what they described. There's like 6 bosses, right? And I am guessing one of the more common strategies will be to get to 2 to 3 boss kills, and then to try to kill all the bosses at the same time so they don't massively increase in difficulty. Like a 200 con light tank. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like a 200 con like light tank, like a pseudo like light tank roll. The annoying part is I don't have ultimate trophies, and I think ultimate trophies are going to be like really, really nice for that content. Because there's only, what? There's 6 mob types. And there's 5 trophy slots. Did they ever talk about if we're getting like a 4th house? Or is it going to still be 3 houses? I don't think Catacomb's going to be impacted by trophies, coatings, and ward pots because they'd be horrid otherwise. I mean, I don't know how they would hide that, though. It's like every mob in the game, like, they've already showed they have, like, Ifrit, right? And, like, Ifrit is a mob that's already in the game that has a certain mob type. So, like, they would have to, like, invent, like, a new mob type for every single mob within Catacombs that then has, like, some sort of effect that only applies to those mobs. They have not answered. You could just modify the Catacombs mobs to do 10% less damage, etc. I mean, the people that are in charge of, like, making the mode aren't going to be the same people that are in charge of, like, implementing that, though. Also, looks like my trophies are, like, off. Like, ideally, I would want the 4% lost one, not the, like, 3% or whatever I have up. Where did I even put this trophy? I have to go find my trophy. Oh, there it is. It's like this tiny thing. At least got the lost one, which will be useful for the raid. But how expensive are the ultimate trophies? Hey, Essie. How's it going? Looks like I got, like, the 3%ers, but I don't really have much more than that. I got Lost, Beast, Ancient, Corrupted. Too much. They could just change the mob types in the PvP players. Miicrow, do you read comments here? I do, but it's slower because it's, like, off to the right. Like, I don't have a centralized chat. Also, there should be a Twitch chat showing on the overlay of the screen now. Might have to adjust it a bit, but I think I set that back up right. I didn't really test it, though. It's the only problem. Looks like I did not set that back up right. Okay, let me play with that, maybe. My stream elements thingy not working. Yeah, no, it's just not showing up. Well, that's annoying. Let me go to tools. Was it elements or is it overlays? I think it's overlays. Yeah, I've got my chat one. It's supposed to work. Of course it's not, but... So let me go quiet my dogs real quick. They are barking. Alright. Oh wait, I have this on backwards. There we go. We're good. I think there's a way to do like a unified like YouTube and Twitch chat. I know Eldorian did it. I don't know how he did it though. Let's see, it's set on there right now. Copy event overlay, and then I'm supposed to just dump it in here. Can worry about that another day. Yeah. It's just annoying because it's something that like I would want it to be set up so like when we're actually like coming or like moving VODs from the stream to like actual like videos that it actually shows up. Above is the reason why I'm confident trophies won't matter, because mobs can change every 2 minutes. How can they expect us to change coding and ward plots every 2 minutes? I mean, I just think it's like something that like people would like overlook though. Like you'd have someone that's like brilliant that like designed like, well I guess I didn't really design the algorithm, but like they implemented an algorithm and like played with it to have like the procedural expedition area. And then it just like kind of falls flat on its face because you forget to do like the small thing. I mean, it's a detail oriented thing. Like I wouldn't expect everybody to like do it. There's a queue? Yeah, there's a queue. It's a little crazy. I could also see someone crush being like, oh, this is like the future of endgame content, has a variety of mobs. Let's not overthink it and let's just like copy paste everything. So we will see. Lost, Ancient, Angry Earth Beast. I mean, I'm gonna have a variety of stuff, it just won't be ultimates. You're gonna be able to replace the perks that drop on 4 perk gear. Not all of them. If you look at the stuff that was mentioned today in the Discord, they basically said on the 4 perk mutation gear, there will be 1 perk slot that is fixed. The other 4 will roll between a gem perk, a offensive perk, a defensive perk, and a skill perk. That makes M3 gear way worse. In my opinion, it does. It makes it significantly worse if it has a 1 preset piece. Like, unless the preset piece is, like, a generic, like, good piece. It can make the M3 gear completely useless. And then the other thing it can do is, like, say each different mutation had a different preset piece for each thing. Then it, like, it'd become a lot better. Like, it just like kind of depends on like what the loot pool looks like. I replied to Joel and he unfortunately didn't get what I was saying. Yeah. What I miss? I'm trying to set up a chat overlay to work and it's not behaving properly. So that's one thing that's going on. And then the other thing that's going on is we're talking about some stuff that the devs were mentioning earlier today. Pray for Swarm? Is there a war with Swarm or something? Who is Swarm? PvP track artifact server? Have they added any new servers yet to East? I like it's simple and it seems they're overcomplicating things. It is definitely more complicated. Oh, the Swarm perk from the PvP server? I mean, they add back that back-end tanks are just like going to be stupid strong. No, just EU. Yeah, because we're just starting to get a queue, but we haven't really had a queue before. This is a little skinning lock, right? Yeah, I don't really care about that. I don't PvE that much. I feel like I need more slots though when I actually start PvEing again, or maybe I just need to have like less gear sets. Like these two are basically duplicates. But like this is a very different thing. I guess I could just switch like this one piece and not really worry about it too much. Relentless is very different too. So the artifacts also still have 5 perks. And then like right now we have 1 that's switchable. And it looked like there was going to be like 1 or 2 that were switchable from their thing. I mean, do you think from like a PvE build, like what should I be looking at probably? Like I would imagine it would be like Tempered Disruption, like Round Shield, like SNS just like makes sense. Like that would be like a pseudo tank. The problem is like stuff's like really, really hard. Like you probably can't get away with like Tempered Disruption. Like you might need to have like a shield for every single protection. Serenity. I mean, Serenity's probably fine. I probably would need to switch out the perk on here again because I was using it for PvP. But that should be easy next season. Round shields can't have protections unless it's changing in Season 10. Sir. Mr. Crush. I have a protection on my round shield. Are we talking about tiers? Not really yet. Serenity Moonstone and only run Roaring Ruptures, what I've been using when I do PvE. I feel like Greatsword in PvE is like kind of scary. Like you have the ability to just literally get one-tapped. And I don't really love that. What is the Whirling Blade passive for this? Light inflicts targets with a 15% rend for 10 seconds. That's actually kind of insane. That's really good. There's probably like a guide that's already out for this, but Like light SNS with this would just have like infinite extensions. I mean, I would think it would be like, no, not really thinking about the amulet a ton here. But then this would all have to be like light up here with like, where do you get old crown? That would be the other thing I probably need to get, right? PvP track? Is it actually? Like looking it up. PvP track level 50 to 200. Oh my god, you aren't joking. I just want to know if they took refreshing away. We don't know much about the gear perks yet, so like we've seen a couple, but we haven't seen refreshing. More news from today? Yeah, if you in the official Discord, there's been like some posts. So like I've been looking at like Joel's stuff, so like I just search for his name, and then he has like some things in here. So like the stifling set, like this is a set bonus I didn't even think he talked about yet. I didn't even know this existed. But hitting an enemy with an attack. Oh, this is the silence one. No, I saw this. So this one's like the first aspect of it is just like a silence, and then while you are silenced, you do more damage. So that one sounds pretty interesting from PvP. It also doesn't have like the worst perk on there in the game as a locked perk. Like Shirking Flames is like fine. This is his horse that Joel talked about yesterday. Looks pretty cool. Not gonna lie. I do like the generic like background though. Like the XYZ axis and there's just a horse on it. The source for Umbrals is Mutations, Raids, Catacombs, Elite Chest, OPR, CTF 3v3 Arenas, and the PvP reward track. So it's probably mostly going to be Catacombs, Elite Chest runs, and like PvP modes for how I get it. So there's a lot of stuff there. Is that the Discord linked? The Discord linked is the one I have to my own Discord. We posted a lot of these screenshots, but this is like the official Discord for New World, which there's a lot of people in it. The problem with the official New World Discord is if you like say something that's out of line and you get banned, there's like zero approve process. So like a good amount of people have gotten banned from that. Here's another set. Umbrals are capped weekly. Yeah, they are. There's a artifact hatchet that they reveal that we don't know about yet. I think that's most of it. But a little bit of snippets here and there. We also have this, whatever this mount is. It's like a ghost turkey with googly eyes. So there's a little bit here. The healing set, which I assume this is like the healing set, like the focused one, is kind of interesting because I think for a lot of healers, they actually wouldn't get like any benefit from running this set because the first bonus is for healing targets inside of a sacred ground or a beacon is like reduced. So like an AoE healer, like most of your heals are from the sacred ground or from a beacon, and in wars, most of the time people are in a sacred ground or a beacon. 1.7% for Enchanted Ward, that's S. Yeah, that's at 750, so you figure it got nerfed. I think like no matter what the percentage is though, Enchanted Ward is probably going to be used in PvE. Not going to give up Featherweight for four of them, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean that's the thing I have to think about, right? Like unless the infix on one of these sets is like insane and only rolls on like one piece of gear, like there's not like Featherweight an opportunity cost of like using Featherweight versus using the full set doesn't really lend towards using the set in PvP. Healing like increased by 15% is like great, and the cooldown reduced by 5% after you heal is like also great. But having to have your life staff out all the time is a little sus. Enchanted Ward 3 might be like 2.5. There's no Enchanted Ward 3. It's like the current gear is Enchanted Ward 1, the next gear and next season's is Enchanted Ward 2. They talked about that in the Discord today as well. But Joel was trying to make stuff a little bit more clear because that the last 10 minutes of that video is like extremely dense. Can someone post the Discord for me, please? The New World one? It's just play New World. I could put it in the chat and see if it works for you. That entire update was meh. I mean, I think the last like I think parts of it were kind of insane, no? I think this still has the most content out of any single thing that has come out at any point in time. Like it's bigger than the Brim patch, like obviously. Like the Brim patch like introduced Umbral V1. It introduced Heart Runes, and I think that was it. Like this is like Umbral V2. We have a new Heart Rune. We have new artifacts. We have set bonuses. We have infixes, which are like the OP perks on the artifacts that are just on random pieces of gear now. And then everything gets up leveled. Like the amount of content in this one thing is like kind of crazy. Yeah, it's like Crush is saying, it's nerfed because you could double stack stuff. So like you can see how it's like Enchanted Ward and Grit Ward here. So you could have illegal pieces in like any piece of gear, and then you also have access to an extra perk, right? So that's how they're kind of balancing it. And then like on top of this, you also have the set bonus. So there's just like a lot of ways to get access to perks. Are there PvP set bonuses? So there's set bonuses that drop from different regions. I think what they said is there's 3 set bonuses that drop from the raid. There's 2 that drop from catacombs, and then there's 3 that drop from the PvP track. So there's set bonuses that drop from PvP, yes, but then there's also like some PvE set bonuses that might be useful in PvP. We currently don't know where each set bonus drops from. This is the one that we saw yesterday. And when did post a few things as well, FYI. She said Gorgon, Worm, and Mutes are all upscaled to 75. Yeah, so up from 70. So we're getting 5 more levels, we're getting 5 levels harder, so that way the damage is like roughly the same. That makes sense. Oh yeah, I mean, are they PvP specific so I can go kill other players? The set bonuses will apply to PvE and PvP. They're like artifact, kind of like. I don't know what you mean by are they PvP specific exactly. Like there's like the one that's probably the closest to being like a PvP specific set bonus. Is like the silence one, right? Because if you let me see if I could find it. If you look at the silence one, so this is an example of the silence one. Like it says down here at the bottom, AI don't have abilities. So this like first 2 perk threshold where you will silence targets that are hit and yourself, but you'll silence enemies and yourself, and those silence targets like that's mostly gonna apply in PvP. There's not like they say in here AI don't have abilities, so your silence stuff won't work there. But you'll still get benefits. Like if you are silenced, like if you silence yourself, you can increase your damage if you have the second threshold. And we also get like a glimpse of like some of the new perks, right? So we see like Shirking Flames, Relentless Freedom, Enchanted. So I assume this is from a great sword. What is the thing with the M3? Uh, there was a picture of the M3s, I think. Let me see if I could find it. Yeah, this is the M3. So M3s, they roll with one perk that's locked. So in the case for this flail, from an M3, it's rolling with thwarting counter 2. So you can't get rid of the thwarting counter 2. But it does roll with 3 unique skill slots that you could change, and it does roll with an empty defensive slot. You can compare that to like crafted gear, which has 2 slots available that you could, or I guess this one has 3, but it doesn't have a gem slot on there. Wait, go back. Yeah, so M3 just gives you like 1 extra slot that you could play with. Versus if you look at the gear from set bonuses, they have typically 2 lock slots. Show the scaling. This is strength focus on the flail. I think it's closer to Path of Exile than Destiny. Like Destiny has a little bit more to the RNG than this. I think it's pretty safe to say that like the crafted stuff you probably just generally won't want. Like unless the 2 perks that they have on a piece are like actually good, like I don't know why you'd want to craft like a sturdy, desperate in power like Warhammer. Like those are just like 2 dead perks. So I could put Scream and Orb of my VG. In theory, yeah. So this one has double skill slot, right? So yeah, you can put Scream and Orb on your VG. Is Great Axe getting another scale? It is. It's getting int, and I don't know the percentage of that scale, but it's getting int. Like if the Warhammer doesn't show the scaling. We see Hatchet is Dex B, Strength B, so equal Strength and Dex scaling on Hatchet now. That's noteworthy. This is like how much it costs to like upgrade the hatchet from 730 to 780, so it's 250. And you can get 4K per week, right? So you'd be able to go from 730 to 780 for what? Like 4 times 4, so 16 pieces. Do we know what trade skills will be the most important yet? I heard armor weapon, but that's all for crafting perks. The dev said that one of unique, like, there will be a skill set required for each, like, variant of the crafting perk at least. Uh, I'm guessing, like, armor matrices will be used for, like, armor perks. Like, I don't think that's that big of a leap. And, like, kind of like the end game crafting materials will be continue to be used. But we don't know exactly what that system is. You could also just, like, craft gear, right? So, like, you could just craft gear and, like, not really worry about it too much. Like if I was gearing up a character on a different server and I didn't really care about this last slot, maybe I'd just like grab a piece off the TP. And how could you go? How do you go to 730? Still upgrade to 725 and then umbrals? No, from 700 and above you could upgrade. 730 is just like the base for crafting in this example. So yeah, 730 is like the new floor. Can you have defensive charms on weapons? Yes, because this flail has an empty defense slot. That hatchet was the PvP server hatchet. So they're still stealing those. Could probably figure out what the other artifacts are releasing then if you just go through that list. But yeah, you could have defensive on weapon. So like for me, like if I'm getting an ideal flail, it would probably have like quad defensive perk, like no gem slot. Like I would not care about the gem slot that much. The gem slot's like good for ult charge, but like they nerfed how much ult charge you get off the dot rune glass, and like the damage and other effects is just like not that great. So like personally, I would do a quad defensive on my weapon. Which is like kind of insane to think about. Like you can get whatever defensive perks can be placed on weapons. Like you can do that. Is this a new perk? Have we seen skilled enchantment too? Abilities deal more damage. So gem slot not guaranteed. Just got here. Yeah, gem slot's not guaranteed. You could have gear with or without the gem slot. I think for armor, if you don't have a gem slot, you're probably trolling. But for weapon, there's certain spots where like it could make sense to not use the gem slot. Gem slot not guaranteed cooks builds, not gonna lie. M3 gears not this, it's just to be the most customizable. Oh yeah, sorry, I went to the YouTube chat. I'll go back to the Twitch chat. Uh so the video I recorded earlier today, I talk about like artifacts versus this new like set bonus gear and like which one like the similarities, the differences, which one's like kind of just generally better. So like I'll have a video out for that specifically tomorrow. Um But in terms of like what's BIS, it really depends on your build and it's like really fluid. It's not gonna be black and white. So like we went over like the healer looking set bonus earlier, and it didn't look that insane for war healers, to be honest. Like the focus set, or like if you get increased healing on targets that are outside of sacred ground and beacon, like if generally speaking you want to be healing a target inside of a sacred ground or because you'll get another like heal mod bonus. And you want your allies to be in your sacred ground so they passively get healed. So it's like that 2 bonus isn't that strong. The 4 one's pretty strong, but if you're switching to your offhand a lot, it won't be super viable. It's still nice for kill squad. Yeah, it's still nice for kill squad. Does VG Blade count as a skill steal? A skill still? the Void Blade that comes out, like, using the button is a skill, but then the actual attack is like a melee attack. Like, it's a lighter, heavy melee attack. So 5 perker, or what's gonna go on then for charm slots plus? I mean, the most customizable set is probably the one that you can get from doing mutations. And that one has like 1 perk locked, right? And everything else is flexible. But the ones that are from the set bonuses typically have 2 perks locked. The artifacts, from how they described it, typically have 2 perks locked. So it's like if you want an extra perk, you have to do the mutations. But what it's going to come down to a lot for the pieces is like, are these perks that are locked like actually useful? Because like thwarting counter, if I got that on a flail, I would just like typically not care about that. Like to me, this is a dead perk, so I wouldn't like value this flail highly because it has thwarting counter on there. I don't think it's immediately clear uh if the forced perk is RNG or if it's like actually fixed. Because this doesn't look like a named weapon, right? This is like Orichalcum Flail. So it's like, do all flails that are just generic flails roll thwarting counter? Because that part's not exactly uh I, like spelled out. In my opinion, RNG. I think it's probably going to be RNG too. Like if this was a named weapon, this would probably be fixed. But because it's like Orichalcum Flail, and that's just like, generic filler name, like it's probably RNG. With the current info, do you think Wars will have more bow musket players? I think there will be more light, ultra squishy DPS players because you have the potential to go musket, go very low con, and then you could run full offensive or skill slots in your armor. You don't really have to worry about defensives, and you can just get one shot by anything that hits you, and then you can just go play Call of Duty. Assuming that the offensive perks are actually like useful, because I don't think we've seen those. I think we've seen a couple, but not a lot. Um, so like burning 2 is an example of an offensive thing, and that's something that's like equipped in an amulet right now, I think. It's either amulet or ring. Actually, I think it's ring. RNG M3s for fixed perks is gonna be so dumb, assuming that it drops awful perks for after all that work. I mean, I think it's just like you have like one RNG slot like you do right now, and it's gonna be like an RNG fixed perk, and then on top of that, you have all the different slots, right? So effectively, like if we were to like draw it out, like you have slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, slot 4, slot 5. The slot 5 is going to be fixed. So you need this to be good, or your gear is like bad. And then depending on like how flexible you're on these other slots will be like how rare it is to get like a best piece from mutations. Yeah, but it's not a fixed gem slot, it's just dead content, and 99.99% of builds want gems on both weapons and armor. Yeah, that's true. So if you don't, like, if one of these 4 slots doesn't roll a gem, like, you figure, like, you have a skill, you have a offensive, you have a defensive, or you have a gem, and then that's just there for everything, right? So it's like, if I don't want a gem, I have to roll, like, the 1 and 4 like 4 times. Like say I don't care about the gem, I want a defensive perk, and that's gonna take me like 1 in 20 tries, and then you have like the 1 in 4, 1 in 4, 1 in 4, 1 in 4. Like it becomes incredibly rare to get the best item that you really want. And then the alternative is that you go down like the fixed path that you can see from set bonuses, where it's like, okay, Now it's like I have RNG if I get the infix or not. I have RNG if I get a gem slot or not. And then you need to get the right charm. So in any case, it's going to be relatively hard to get the ideal picture perfect set, which is probably going to like increase the time that it takes to get this. But then the other portion is like if you already have the perfect charm slots, then you could just reuse gear from like one build to another and just switch out the perks potentially, which is kind of nice. But you need to make sure that like your sets align and like it seems like you're probably gonna have a ton of gear in storage and you just have to like figure out what's actually useful and what's not. Yeah, I mean the fixed slot in their one example wasn't a gem slot. It's the only thing I saw crush. So it's like, yeah, I would agree. And generally, in most builds, you need the gem slot or it's like trash. It's like a mini puzzle now. Yeah, it is a puzzle to like figure out your set. It's extrapolating out this to a very small chance. I like the grind idea, but it's kind of weird. It is definitely different. It kind of reminds me of like when New World like first came out. Like when New World first came out, we had gear that you crafted and it was RNG to even get 3 perks on the gear, and then every perk was RNG itself too. So it was like incredibly expensive to get bist out. It's like trading out mandatory perks like Hardy, but now it's for a gem slot. Yeah, I mean that's like one of the RNG pieces, right? So like before with like our the amount of RNG pieces, you had to get the right weight, which we still have that factor. You had to get the right attributes, which we don't have that factor anymore. You had to get a like if you got a piece with a skill charm and that skill wasn't for the ability you're using, it was trash, and that was a pitfall, and that's no longer a pitfall. So like there's kind of a give and take, but I think it's gonna be similar-ish amounts of RNG. So long as they take feedback and polish it, I'm sure it will be fine, I think. That'll be like I imagine like over time they're gonna make it like easier to acquire bis too, and this is probably like the hardest form it will be to acquire bis, because that's typically what happens within the game. It's not about it being much easier, it's about how clunky it looks. Oh yeah. I mean this is like literally a puzzle. It's gonna be clunky in the sense that it's gonna be difficult to know what's actually bis. Like much more difficult than it is right now. I wonder if these crafted perks are RNG if they're fixed. They mention that at all? First up is this 3-socket crafted item. The first 3 sockets are randomly rolled sockets. The last 2 perks are fixed, meaning it will be similar to the old system and randomly old Oh, they are randomly rolled static perks. Oh, that's completely different then. Because that means the sturdy and the desperate and power here aren't guaranteed either. So these 2 perks that get rolled could be good for your build. So like in theory, you could just like literally just craft your way up to this and not really have to interact with a bunch of the systems, but you won't have access to the set bonuses. Like I think crafting and mutations are actually pretty similar. It's just the crafting ones have a little bit less leeway. He answered a question about this and said they don't have a way to craft a perfect piece, but they plan to add it. I see. So it is literally is the old system, but like not. Yeah, that's how I'm thinking right now. Like you have two RNG perks. You probably want these perks to be like relatively good, like usable perks, and then you have the charms, which you want ones that are relatively good. Like for Warhammer, for example, if I had two skill slots on there, I could put, Leeching Path of Destiny, and then I could put like the Rend from doing a shockwave, and then your offensive perk could be like Plague Strikes, for example. Like that wouldn't be bad. So like I think crafting's actually a little bit better than we give it credit for. Like mutations will be a good source of gear too, but like crafting doesn't seem half bad. Like has the price of prismatics gone up at all? Because like this doesn't seem too bad. Micro DM'd you a link. Okay. I have the Discord open right now. Let me go back. Link to New World Official. Oh, is this the one? Oh, where the coconuts and the Gorgonite inductors aren't really used? Yeah. Wasn't Sturdy removed from the game? It's removed from a lot of things. I don't know if it's currently removed from Warhammer Loot Table or not. I mean, the other thing about mutations, like for M3s, it's kind of underrated, is you get such like a large variety of like rolls from M3s. Like you get so many drops. And I think they're loot biased now, right? So I imagine just due to the quantity of drops, you're somewhat likely to get at least usable drops. But you do have to complete like an M3 difficulty, which is probably not going to be doable upon the initial release. Uh, Crush, that link did not work. Is it this not currently in this version now? For the not being able to force the type of sockets a crafted piece has? Okay. I mean, I wonder if we'll have like 5 perk shields like we used to have from Eden Grove to 5-man arena trial. That will be the interesting part, right? How many like different slots for gear do you have? Because in theory, right now, there's 40 slots on gear between your gems, your skill slots, your defensive slots, and your offensive slots. But if you also include shields, like I mean, that could be like 44 to 45. Any specifics on some set bonus stuff? Yeah, we've seen a couple of the set bonuses. I think they said that there's 8 currently, and I think we've seen 3. More gear score, more slot. I think it's more like if you use Gear 2.0, you get an extra slot, but you have to kind of see. This is the focused set, so you would think like probably healer related for the most part. So the 2 of is you get a 15% increased healing on targets outside of Sacred Ground or Beacon. The 4 of is you get a healing increase of 15% and the cooldown reduced by 5% on heal while after holding a weapon out for 10 seconds. I wonder if I imagine that 5% on heal has an activation cooldown, but if it doesn't, that's insane for any weapon that has access to like an AoE heal. The ones that come to mind are like Void Got One and Flail, because Flail's ultimate technically is an AoE heal. And, getting CDR, like a 5% CDR for just having your flow out for a while, like probably is pretty doable. I mean, the problem with Flail VG is with Flail VG, you switch a lot between your Void Gauntlet and your Flail. This is like encouraging you stay on one weapon primarily and have a secondary weapon to escape. Did you see the Elemental Hunger perk? I did. This is another set though. The other one, I don't have a link to it here, but that we talked about in a video yesterday was the Enrage or like over. Was it Enrage or Berserker set, whatever they called it? Was the other one that we've seen. So we've seen 3 out of the 8 sets. The Stifling set is like a silence oriented set. So hitting an enemy with an attack while your active weapon abilities are on cooldown, silence your target for 2 seconds and yourself for 1. So if you have no cooldowns, silencing yourself doesn't really do anything bad. It can occur only once every 5 seconds. Silence blocks the use of abilities, and noteworthy AI don't have abilities, so it does nothing in PvE. While silence, you do 10% more base damage. Oh no, we've seen 4 sets, because we've also seen the elemental one. You're right. While silence, you do 10% more base damage with your basic attacks, and hitting a target will reduce ability cooldowns by 5%. This is also kind of insane with the Artifact Greatsword, because if you're silenced and then you do a heavy attack, that heavy attack spawns a wave. That wave counts as a heavy attack and will proc a ton of CDR. But that being said, Greatsword's like abilities aren't that good, so might cook with this with the musket in the set. It would cook with a musket too, yeah. I mean, imagine it's like a activation cooldown, not an application cooldown on the silence, so it's not gonna like mass silence everybody, but you will do more damage and reduce your cooldowns. You see the elemental hunger perk, while you have no elemental charges, you take 5% less elemental damage. Yeah, I saw it. I put that in like the video I recorded earlier. That one's this. That one seems competitive. It's pretty similar to the value of elemental aversion, but we did see that enchanted ward got nerfed, so it's possible that elemental aversion caught a nerf, and then this perk is like relatively good relative to that. The main downside with it is it has locked nature damage absorption, which is like basically useless. Vital synergy is still good. Those are probably random rolls. If there are random rolls, like that's like completely different, right? Like if that's a random roll, this gear could actually be pretty good. But you also have stuff like I don't know if it's necessarily a random roll though, because if you think of artifacts, artifacts have preset other perks that are inherently typically worse to balance out for the fact that you're using an artifact, which is like one of the reasons why the current artifact life staff that boosts your outgoing healing like isn't used a ton. What is an elemental charge? An elemental charge comes from the elementally charged set, and you can read about it here. So this is another set bonus. The 2 of for here is magical weapon abilities do 7% less base damage, but they store a charge of that elemental of that weapon's they store a charge of that weapon's element for 20 seconds. So if you use like a void blade, your void blade's doing 7% less damage, but you're storing that like void energy. Activating an ability of a non-magical weapon will consume the charge and add 10% weapon damage as that element to that attack for 10 seconds with a 3-second cooldown. So it's like encouraging you to like, I mean, the one weapon that like this makes sense for like an offhand standpoint is like if you had an ice gauntlet, you probably could like proc it pretty consistently. You'll do less damage to ice effects, or like you'll take less damage from ice effects. But like, does that really matter? Like, are you really taking that much damage to ice? And the reason why I bring up Ice Gauntlet is Ice Gauntlet's like typically an offhand. And this seems like you typically want to have like one weapon that's physical and one weapon that's like more elemental. Because like you want to take advantage of that bonus to do more damage. The dealing less damage is like honestly a really big hindrance. The 4 of is now you can store 2 charges of each element. While you have 2 charges, you get resistance towards the damage of that type. So like that part is decent, but it basically just means whatever magic thing that you're using, you're just gonna deal a lot less damage with. Rapier. You could do like Fire Staff Rapier, yeah, but then you're like your Fire Staff is doing less damage. When you pull your Rapier out, you do more damage. So then if you have no magic weapons, that ability has no downside. Yeah, there's no downside for using the set, but there's also like not a huge upside. I guess like if you did like a dual, I mean the other part that's like interesting here, they say it says activating an ability of a non-magical weapon will consume the charge. Magical weapon abilities do less damage. So like what defines like a magical weapon? Like typically like when you think of magical weapons, I would think of the ones that, what do I just say, magical? So you got Fire Staff, you got Life Staff. I guess it could be okay with Life Staff. You don't really care about your damage with Life Staff. Ice Gauntlet and Void Gauntlet. So it's like Void Gauntlet, if you're a utility Void Gauntlet player, like you probably don't care that much about doing damage with Void Gauntlet, and it could actually be good. Like IG, VG, if you're going like the Orb route. Like it actually could be pretty decent to reduce your damage of like the IG stuff that's incoming and the VG stuff that's incoming. But like if you're actually trying to do damage and you're like a Void Blade player, like I don't see why you would go down this route. Umbrals drop from Elite Chest Run, a new zone. They made it sound like it drops from both the new and the old zones from Elite Chest Runs, yes. Oh, you're talking about the perk before Dargetti. Yeah. If you have no magical weapons, that ability has no downside. Yeah, or if you don't have the set, right? Because that perk, the example that they show, it didn't actually have the set rolled on it because it's possible to get the infix without the set. So there's no set here. So elemental hunger, like you'll never have an elemental charge, so you're just always taking 5% less elemental damage. So that perk is like actually like very, very strong. Like it basically, this is just saying, hey, you have like free less damage. Does anyone know what pieces have exactly 11 weight? Because we could figure out what this rolled on, what this infix rolled on based off of that 11 weight. Heavy chest? Is that the only one? Oh, yeah, 11 weight. That's the heaviest piece in the game. So that means this only rolls on chest pieces. It says right there, plate armor. It does? This is like... Oh, yeah, it does say plate armor. You're right. I don't think that's necessarily true. I mean, we at least know it rolls on chest pieces. At least rolls on the heavy chest. So, like, this is competing for Void Darkplate slot, right? And it's like, would you rather take 5% less elemental damage, but still have an artifact slot available, or have 20% more armor? That 5% less elemental damage is probably base damage, and I think that would probably be a little bit better than the armor in PvP, because you could use another artifact that would be good. Like, they talked about how Unmoved is reworked, and like maybe you could run Unmoved to have the passive Uninterruptible effect, and then you deal damage back to the attackers with the Thorns-like effect. I'll be using Tumblers, so it won't matter. Yeah, I mean, you can go down that route too. Like, if you're using Tumblers, this is free damage reduction. I just want to see refreshing. Yeah, we haven't seen refreshing yet. By the way, I don't understand why perks have a 2. It's because the perks in the new system are like... They're like perk V2. Like, that's why there's a 2. And then the perks in the current system are like V1. Like, you know how they're calling it like Umbral V2? Like, it's like the same idea where it's like, hey, we're doing a refresh on this endgame system. Like, this is the second version of that system. But you still can upgrade like your current gear to 800 gear score 2 using the V1 perks in theory, because they don't have the 2 next to them. So that will be something that's like worth noting. So like Enchanted Ward, we saw that Enchanted Ward was heavily nerfed. Uh, I assume that they would have gone back and they would have also toned down Enchanted Ward V1 to be like similar power levels as Enchanted Ward V2 so that people like actually interact with the new system. Let me look Crush. Uh, Crush, I probably can't share that one, no. Probably not. But yeah, there's like a lot of different perks on here too. Like we see the V2s with like Divine. So Divine got broken up into a perk that you could have 5 equipped of. We could already tell that Divine's on the chest piece. Or wait, no, can we? No, this isn't a chest piece. This is a different piece. But we know there's 5 perk slots, and you can only have 3 jewelry. So you assume that the Divine is like a defensive perk that could roll on other pieces of gear or something like that. Divine looks so bad because there's no more consumable lifesteal buff. Yeah, it's basically like it's only incoming heals, right? Like that's significantly nerfed. Like if it were me, like I look at Divine V2, and then I look at something like Relentless that gives you a 20% increase to incoming healing from non-consumable and lifesteal sources. So it's kind of like Divine V2, but it's like this is literally the Divine V2 if I ran 5 perks but in 1 perk. There's like a big discrepancy there. What's a defensive weapon perk? Do we have an example of that? No. We have defensive perk examples, I think, but not defensive weapon perks. Unless Anwin posted one. Because she posted this, but these are like armor perks. And then she posted this, and this is just like skills. So there's not a defensive here. I mean, the attribute change going to be very hard to be 300 con and still do big damage. Oh yeah. I mean, they're reducing the attributes. Uh, I mean, I imagine like you figure they're keeping the mutation scores like roughly the same, right? Like they're upping the mutations, so you figure the power level is going to be at least similar, but there's just less attributes on the board. Bruisers won't be 300 con anymore. Yeah, they haven't really talked a ton about attributes. There's like a little bit. So this is an example of like attributes that we got. So this shows like some of the scaling, but it doesn't really show thresholds. Reducing the attributes but rescaling the damage so you just won't be able to get attribute capstones as much. Yeah, that's the main thing. Great Axe scaling is int 2. Wow. Yeah, it's down here. Yep. Now, the noteworthy thing is the ones that have the little circle around them, that's like the S tier scaling, clearly, because we have like Fire Staff, right? And we say Fire Staff has S tier scaling. So we know this is like the better end of the spectrums on the left on this side, because those are 2 of the S tier ones. So we know Void Gauntlet obviously has high int scaling. We know Musket has high int scaling. We know Rapier has high int. And then like down at the bottom we have Life Staff, Blunderbuss, and Great Axe. So that means Blunderbuss and Great Axe have relatively bad int scaling, but they still have int scaling. And then the Fire Staff, which oh no, that's not the circle is not the scaling. The circle is what's equipped. The circle is what's equipped, right? Because we see the Fire Staff down here, and then we see the Fire Staff up here. So that Fire Staff's equipped. So I guess we don't know that for sure. Also, wasn't there a screenshot from like Warhammer though that had like Warhammer that had like E tier dexterity scaling and it's like in the middle? So that's probably not a great basis. We just don't know the tiers. Yeah. Joel has the better leaks. So this is a great sword for example, right? Because we have, or is it a great sword? Actually, this could be an armor piece. I think it's a great sword though, but like we don't know if it's a armor piece or if it's a great sword because we see like weapon thing, we see weapon thing, we see skill. I guess we don't know. It's great sword because it has the weapon scaling. Oh, you're right because it has this. So this is Dex B, Strength B. So that's like great sword right now. I think has 80% Dex and 80% Strength scaling. Stifling set with the wing boots would be nutty. I mean, the stifling set will apply a silence, right? I don't understand how it works out from the extra base damage. I mean, did you see the Enrage set yesterday? We were going through it on stream, and like the Enrage set has the potential to give you 25% base damage. And then you also do like an extra like 8% base damage per attack, but the downside is that you're constantly sitting at like 70% HP. Yeah, this is the different scalings for weapons. We had Inwin in the chat yesterday, and we talked about this with her, and this is what she said was the correct ones. So they have S on top of a blocker. Icons in order just makes too much sense. True. Was that her in the chat? Yeah. Because she said that she was gonna post something, and then like something immediately like appeared in the official Discord. But I don't know. They're definitely dropping nuggets though. I think the really interesting set will be like the Enrage set because if you can live and have the like if you have the 25% base damage output, the problem is it's going to also take 12.5% more damage. But like say you're a musket player, like you probably don't care about taking more damage. You're just going to get one shot anyways if someone hits you. So you could run that and it's like, "Oh, yeah, I just do 25% more damage now." Hey, sorry, I'm brand new. Do you have like a beginner YouTube video? I've watched your season 10 builds video you posted, but I'm like a complete noob. It's something I'm working on, and I'd probably struggle with that like more for catering to new players. Baggins, yeah, Baggins is really good for starting stuff. If you have specific questions, I'm definitely happy to like answer them, but like beginner wise, like number one thing is probably don't rush to endgame, kind of have fun with it. There's actually going to be endgame content next patch though. And you could kind of use whatever weapon combos you want, which is really cool in this game. Like if you like it only takes like 2 to 3 hours to max out a weapon level. So it's like I basically have maxed out like all the weapons and I just play around with them all the time. So like don't feel too locked into anything. It's relatively easy to re-gear. It sounds like it's going to be a little bit harder next patch, but it's relatively easy to re-gear. Like I know I played Throne and Liberty and it took you like probably 3 to 4 months to max out one weapon. This game it's much faster. So It's definitely more casual friendly. I kind of do what you want. There's certain combos that are definitely like more optimal, but you don't really have to run the optimal combo to like function for the most part. Like if you want to just do PvE, if you want to just do PvP, like you totally don't have to run like what people call like best in slot or BIS. Like you can kind of do whatever feels good. You could stack Enchanted 5 times now, but they have reduced the value a lot. Yeah, that seems to be like the balancing point. So there's access to more perks and perk slots, but the power level of everything has been reduced. So is the only reason to get higher gear score just armor now? Gear score is also part of the damage formula. So the noteworthy thing there is I don't really want to go into damage formula because I'm going to scare people away. But weapons within the damage formula are double counted. There's a part that takes into consideration of your average gear score, and there's a part that takes in consideration your average weapon gear score when you're doing damage. So if you're looking to optimize which things you should level up first, you should generally be leveling up your weapons first. After that, it's armor. It's a specific order. Chest piece is most important. Your legs are the next most important. Hands and helmet, I think, are tied after that, and then boots is, like, last. And then after all those, like, jewelry. So, like, there's a specific order in terms of optimizing. It gets kind of weird when you're like, do I go to, like, 780 on my weapon, or do I go to, like 770 to 780 on my weapon, or do I go from like 750 to 770 on my chest piece? Like that math gets really weird, and I just wouldn't really overcomplicate it and just know that bigger numbers generally better, because you'll get higher armor. Your perks generally will scale with higher gear score if it's like historically accurate, and then you'll also deal more damage with a higher average gear score. Well, that's not completely true, but I think they've reworked the formula, so that's true. Like, higher gear score generally should be better. I think there's some sort of balancing mechanic to where, like, really big endgame players can't just, like, one-tap, like, noobs. I don't know if that's, like, based off of, like, levels or off a gear score, but there's some sort of balancing mechanic with that, too. Still find what change of the artifact trait after update. They have one example of artifact changes within here, and it's with a new artifact that is coming out. See if I can find it. Yeah. So this is like one of the new artifacts that's coming out. It's called Incinerating Hatchet. I guess this existed at some point at a test server. With this artifact, you could exchange these two perks. Normally, you would have access to a gem slot and an additional perk. This artifact, you don't have a gem slot. You only have these two perks that you could switch between. Because this is an artifact, I imagine you can't exchange these charm slots for anything, so you're kind of locked into two offensive charm slots. Please tell me Invigorated is still perk, please. I mean, we're seeing, I think there's going to be definitely more perks than less perks, so, but we don't know for sure if Invig is going to exist, but I think it's, like, likely that Invig will exist. Otherwise, they'd have to, like, rework a bunch of things, like, even, like, from an artifact standpoint, they'd have to, like, rework Jin. There's kind of a lot going on there. How's it going, cousin? That hatch in the PvE server was extremely OP, but beyond broken. Oh, so great. It's just like the greatsword. I feel like from a PvP standpoint, it's probably hard to hit like 3 ranged heavy or 3 ranged attacks in a row, but from a PvE standpoint, it could be pretty good. The other thing to consider though is like, say there's like a really good hatchet infix that increases your damage a lot. Like this slot will compete directly with that hatchet infix, so I don't think it's necessarily best in slot for everything. Like if there was a really good hatchet infix that like increased your damage, or something along those lines, then you could use like an artifact like Void Gauntlet offhand, right? And then that would be a bigger damage increase. Like there's options there, but this one at least seems decent from an AOE standpoint. I mean, if it's like Boltcaster, could have multiple people contribute to those stacks. Oh, that's true. It would be really funny to like watch somebody just like spamming like those heavy attacks though and trying to hit one target. Like I feel like the Great Sword surely is just an easier way to do this. Are artifacts gonna drop at 730 now? I mean this artifact seems to have dropped at 730. I think 730 is kind of the new baseline. I don't really know if they're dropping at 730 or not. I don't know if you have to like upgrade them to get the final perk combo, but the one at this test server, which also has a green greatsword and has some sort of ring that looks new, it dropped at 730. The system seems biased to making either full throttle damage or full tank builds. Mid builds just don't make sense to me, other than survivability, but can't actually kill anything. I mean, the part there that comes up, Riz, is you have diminishing returns if you go too much into a stat. So, say I run every single possible defensive stat in the game. What the game will do is it will take all those defensive stats and it will add them to each other. And then it will, like, that bonus combined is, like, your number that's going to get reduced by stuff. What that effectively means is, like, say I had X stats before, and I wanted to like add one more stat. Like the scalar that you get on the stat is not multiplicative, right? It's additive, which means that you're gonna get reduced value as you have more stats. So if I have 100 stats and then I add 10 to it, I go to 110. But 110 isn't like 10% more. Like 110 effectively at that point I think it's 5% more. Uh Actually, isn't this just 10 over 110? Okay, it's 9%. So it's like you get less stats the more you go into something. You have to remember that attributes are not the same and other weapons are being buffed. You can't really take previous stuff into account with this season. We don't really have any clue what's coming. Yeah, I mean, we can see like some things. We can see like Hatchet is like equal dexterity and strength scaling. I think before Hatchet was like primarily strength and secondary dex, so like that was shifted a little bit. We know Fire Staff is primary int still, secondary dex, and it's heavily favored towards the int. But you have to like look down at the bottom for like little hidden details that they show off. So the artifact is still a special item, and depending on the normal item trait, has 5 chance on the perk and has to be on the set for the armor. Yeah, I mean the thing with the artifacts is like you can't drop multiple artifacts, right? You can only have one artifact drop. So I imagine all the perks and the charm slots are like fixed on artifacts, but they seem to be a little bit more flexible on like infix/gear set items. We don't know like for sure how that works, but in terms of like gear sets, like you have uh like you can get them to drop multiple times, right? So like there's the potential for stuff to like change a little bit there. Infixes and artifacts can share the same level of impact. Artifact unique perks will not show up on other pieces of gear. Okay. This is a this is the great sword weapon, so great sword has equal strength dex scaling. That mortal aggression perk looked crazy. Yeah, it was a that was a if you get kills, you get everything. Spooky horsey. I like the horse too. The horse looks funny. The problem is this is theory crafting with very little information. Yeah, there's enough to get like an idea of what's coming, but not enough to like solve everything. I mean, the point with what they gave us is like I think this additional information was to like kind of help the fact that in that dev video they spent 10 minutes on probably the most complicated topic on the expansion, rushed through everything, didn't have any visual on the screen, and everybody got confused. And this is like a hey, let's just give them like some examples so they are slightly less confused. So it's like less about like, oh my gosh, we can optimize everything like right now, and more of like this is like generally how stuff works. The part that seemed like noteworthy to us is like I think today when I woke up, I was like, oh, I just want to, do my mutations. We'll have and then just get my bits that way. And then like upon reading this more, like the mutations will have like one RNG perk that's locked, right? So that has to be good. And then you have to have all the like the RNG slots. You don't necessarily have a gem slot in here too. So this is like a flail without a gem slot. So like my ideal thing would getting like a defensive perk here and probably defensives across the board because I don't really care about like gems for my class, but for certain people like you need a gem on your weapon or you're like kind of trolling. So like that's an RNG thing. Also from a crafting standpoint, they mentioned that these two perks that are fixed are RNG as well. So I think crafting actually has a really big place in the end game in terms of like filling out pieces, and you could definitely get like a good enough set just from crafting stuff. Whoever says this is BIS doesn't have enough info yet. Yeah, and like stuff's gonna fit nicely with certain pieces and not nicely with others. A double skill slot? Yeah, this is a double skill slot on a weapon. So you can run like Leeching Path of Destiny and Sundering Shockwave if you wanted. The one where it gets like interesting, right, is double skill slot on a Void Gauntlet. Sounds very, very nice. Or like say you have like a Ice Gauntlet. Like Ice Gauntlet, like generally speaking, there's nothing that's like that good to roll offensively on there. So you either want defensives or you want skill slots. Micro offensive slot can slot a gem potentially? No, it's slightly different. So like we call it like a gem slot, right? And we call it an offensive slot. We call it a skill slot. We call it a defensive slot. Like a gem slot is still a slot. Like it's not agnostic with offensive. Because we've seen other images where it like has a gem slot and like that's different. And then uh Anwin I think posted a picture of an example here where it says like gem charm slot, right? So there's a gem charm slot that's different than an offensive charm slot. So we're orb coping. I'm just saying there are some reasons to believe that orb VG is stronger than it was before. From a defensive standpoint, if we go back to what's his name? Josh? No, not Josh. Shoot, why am I forgetting his name all of a sudden? It was like Joel, I think. It's Joel, right? Yeah, it's Joel. Yeah. If we go back to here, we go down to the elemental charge set. Here it talks about how if you do damage with an element for the 4 of, you take less damage from that element, but you also deal less damage. So obviously if you are trying to avoid doing like if you don't want to do a ton of damage, just having resist to an element is kind of nice. So if you went like orb IGVG, you could have resistance to void damage as well as ice damage, which isn't that bad to have on point. Like that's actually pretty nice. Like void damage especially, there's a lot of like instances of void. I don't know, like it says like they store charge of that weapon's element. I don't know if that's like the damage type of the element, like if you put a conversion slot if that works or not. Yeah, but you could do that with Blade. Right, but Blade usually builds to do more damage, right? And then there's a downside here where it's if you use a magical weapon. Uh oh no, it's just magical weapons abilities do less base damage. It's not attacks. Oh yeah, you definitely could do that with Blade. Yeah, yeah, you could do that with Blade because your weapon attacks won't do less base damage. Not gonna lie, in the first look, this looks ass. I mean, it's they're saying you won't do as much uh like AoE ability damage, but you'll do more damage per hit. Which for Void Blade just sounds good, to be honest. Like you're using what, Oblivion, you're using Scream, like those are your only two sources of damage. Like your blade itself isn't an ability. It does damage through a lighter or light or heavy attack. I mean, for a set bonus you need four of, that seems ass. Oh. I mean, I don't know how like the charges work, but it's definitely different, I guess. It but like 10% less damage towards an element could be like potentially really useful. So like say if I put a conversion gem, that counts as an element. So say I like put in a uh like a fire gem or something like that, and I have less damage taken by fire, or I put in a arcane gem and I have less taken damage taken by the great sword, I have less damage taken by Deados. Like both of those are pretty good. So Void Blade is good with the set? Yeah, Void Blade is good with the set because you just get passive less damage to Void. So you could charge with the magic weapon, swap to your Great Axe, and then it's applied 10% bleed dot for 10 seconds. Yeah. What Discord has these pictures? The official New World Discord has these pictures. Our Discord also has the pictures in case you don't have access to the original Discord. If you're looking at the actual official Discord, you have to search for like the devs specifically that are posting them. If anything, you might use this on like Musket VG. Yeah. I don't think you like. I think it would be like a two of though. Also, like activating an ability of a non-magical weapon will consume the charge. So would that work if you use like one of the like the musket what like uh abilities are kind of weird. I thought Void Blade is considered an ability. So the Void Blade pulling it out itself is considered to be an ability, but your attacks are light attacks or heavy attacks. And because this 7% only applies to abilities, it wouldn't apply to Void Blade because Void Blade is doing light and heavy attacks. It's not necessarily doing damage to an ability. The other noteworthy thing there is like if you're going for the Abyss, for example, like the Void Great Axe, it has a similar feature where it's like its attacks are light and heavy attacks, but they are gonna give you charges, I would think, activating an ability of a non-magical weapon. So like yeah, if you use the Abyss with like IG or the Abyss with VG, you could just constantly proc this like secondary effect because the Great Axe is a non-magical weapon. Um, from what I understand, artifacts like the Abyss or Life Taker have their main scaling swapped with the secondary scaling, right? So they're changing those to have the secondary scaling be tied. So like the for Void Gauntlet artifact, the secondary scaling is dexterity, right? So instead of being int focus, it's now going to be int dex, and the focus is gone, which kind of just buffs musket again. But the Great Axe is int strength anyways, so what is the Abyss? Uh, I mean, it's still int strength, but I think it's more on the int side. Like, I don't know, it's probably just like, it has higher scaling on the int. If you look at the actual Abyss weapon, like at the bottom where it has the scaling, I'm sure it will like actually tell you that information. With all these changes for Season 10, New World Database and New World Buddy about to be down for 3 days updating all this new stuff, I think it's going to be longer than 3 days to figure it all out. Let me check Discord again because I'm getting pinged. Is it mostly Crush? All right. this whole elemental change charge thing is a new mechanic. It's a new mechanic for set bonuses. So there are 8 set bonuses or 8 drops for set bonuses. There might not be 8. I think there's 8 though. We know about 4 of them currently, and the elemental charge thing is one of the set bonuses. The other thing that was kind of interesting they mentioned is like you can get the infix for gear that's not necessarily part of a set. So like this is a heavy chest piece with the elemental infix, but isn't necessarily part of the set. So like while you have no elemental charges, you take 5% less elemental damage. So if I don't use that set, but then I use this infix, I just constantly take 5% less damage to elementals. Which is like better than enchanted or elemental aversion, right? Because elemental aversion only applies to ranged attacks, so this would apply to Void Blade. Can you have that perk 5 times in your armor? We don't. I don't know where like all the infixes roll. So like infixes, like they could like this is a heavy chest piece, for example. Like this could only let's infix for elemental hunger. It could only roll on chest pieces. Uh, it could roll on every possible piece, and then you could stack it. I'm guessing most likely if you could roll it on multiple pieces, there's going to be a stack max of 1 on there, so it won't apply to everything. So you can't just have like better elemental aversion. I kind of think it's just limited to chess pieces though, and I feel like these other 2 things are like locked in, but I don't really know for sure because you could like re-roll those, or like you can get multiple versions of this gear set versus like artifacts. There's only one drop, right? So there probably wasn't any RNG built into that. Versus this has some RNG with the 2 slots. They did talk about how some slots are fixed. So like here, this is next up as a set item. You have an infix perk, a socket, a fixed perk, and a fixed perk. Yeah, so these bottom 2 slots are fixed. So that's just fixed for that set. So if you wanted this chest piece, you have to have a nature damage absorption and vital synergy too. You can't change those. Well, no, it says it's fixed, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a locked perk. That just means that you can't change it later. Yeah, I guess we don't know. It's complicated. This is probably yet to be determined. This part's a little unclear. Have they stated anything about melee tracking being fixed? Uh, they haven't. Our powder shot and powder burn abilities. We can see. It's a little weird to find it out, but we can look. So if you go to abilities, and type in powdered shot, poison shot, powder burn. Oh, it's power burn, not power shot. So this is the ability ID. So if I go to status effects and then I type that in, it will tell me what it is. I think that's how it works. So I'm like reading chat at the same time. Well, it says it's an attack from the UI category. Hit. I mean, I could look up Void Blade as a reference and start from there and kind of understand how they make it work. Because the thing here is like I don't know if it's like an additional effect that applies to a normal attack. Because Void Blade. Oh, but then no. We have to go to damage rows. It's not stats effects. It's damage rows, right? Because if I go to Void Gauntlet, yeah, there's Void Blade Light, right? And that's where you see the light and the heavy. Um, so if we go back to powder. Powdered burn. The damage looks like it counts as an ability. Yeah, powder burn ability, powder burn ability. Yeah, so those are abilities for powder burn. Uh, if we look at, or for powder, that's powder burn. Where's powdered shot? Is the internal name just really weird? So powdered shot internally is called powdered burn. No. Power shot is called musket power shot. Okay. So we go here, we go back to damage rows, we type this in, and there's nothing there. Great. Is there that? That looks like it. So that's a light attack. So power shot is a light attack, but powder burn is an ability. That's not confusing at all. So that would mean the powdered burn would deal less damage and the powdered shot would not. That's not that one? Let me just type in musket. Let's just go down the line. So we got shooter stance, it's a light attack. Okay. We got powder burn, it's an ability. Okay. We got charge shot, it's an ability. Stopping power is an ability. I want to say it's an ability based off of this. It's called charge shot. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's an ability then. So both are abilities, Nick. So it's kind of confusing, but yeah, you have to go to damage rows on your body to figure that out. So attack type ability. So yeah. And because this is an attack type ability, it's probably not as... Is it not as good with that set, or does that set only apply to elemental abilities? Let me look back at this. Magical weapon abilities. That's not a magical weapon. So, no, that you wouldn't deal less damage with musket. Activating an ability of a non-magical weapon will consume the charge. So if you use one of those, it will count as an ability, it will consume the charge, and then you'll deal more damage with the musket. So it's good with the musket. This set is good with musket. And then you have to use some sort of int-based thing to proc the charge. Magical weapon abilities deal 7% less base damage. So you would have to use a magical weapon ability. Your magical weapons are Fire Staff, Life Staff, Ice Gauntlet, and Void Gauntlet. So as a musket, you're probably locked into using the Void Gauntlet with the artifact Void Gauntlet. You have to use a Void Gauntlet ability to get a charge. Then you switch to the musket, you pop it, and then you do much more damage. So yeah, musket VG, you probably lock in Tether. I guess Essence Rupture is one that you can just kind of huck out there and you don't really care about. And then the last one doesn't really matter. You can do Oblivion if you want to increase your damage. You could do Orbit Decay, I guess it's fine. Scream to get a little bit more distance, like that's fine. So yeah, that would be like a Life Taker musket VG. And then your musket is has another dot that's basically doing double damage over the duration of 10 seconds. On top of having like the powder burn that is already doing a bunch of damage. So, yeah, that's kind of insane. Yeah, this works perfectly with musket VG as it was already built. Yep. You open with Tether, Scream, close range. And then because you have an artifact Void Gauntlet locked in, you probably want the infix for musket. Which hopefully would be good. So musket's gonna be insane. Like actually insane. I guess bow would be in a similar spot too, where bow would be able to take advantage of it. Because it's not a magic weapon ability that bow has, even with the lightning bow. Stack fire damage and rune glass for the extra powder burn damage too. Moonstone must get back with this. Uh, you need to make sure that Moonstone Musket I'd be a little bit wary on. You need to make sure that you don't have an active, like, cooldown. But it does a lot worse damage with a VG and can't use an IG. Does a lot worse with the VG and can't use an IG. Yeah, you kind of need higher con with the bow too. Plus, if Life Taker actually has dual scaling now, yeah, and it scales off of index, like Musket just got a gigantic buff. Powder burn is a 15% dot. This is a 10% dot. Yeah, so you're basically doing double damage there. And then if you wanted to like counter the elemental damage, then you could run like elemental hunger, for example, and you just take less elemental range damage. I mean, muskets like has the potential to be really scary next patch too, because you literally could go 4 offensive perk slots with a musket with like very low con, just play from range so people can't hit you, and then you could just build out to literally just be a glass cannon and try to like 1 and 2 tap people. You imagine everyone's running like lower con in general too, because they have to put more, they have less attributes, so they can't put as much into con. And musket can collat. 5 enchanted, 5 harnessing. Yeah, that sort of spiel. It's fine. People just use Crescent Wave anyway, and they'll nerf it again and make the wave 200%. I mean, the thing inherently about Musket being better is it also nerfs Crescent Wave, because if you're using Crescent Wave, you're generally going to be in offensive stance. If you're in offensive stance, you're taking like a very large amount of damage, and you don't have access to like the cheat death from Hatchet. So like, there's a chance that like you have, if muskets have become strong enough, there's no really good reason to use Crescent Wave because the musket just like counters the Crescent Wave from range, and the Crescent Wave can't gap close to the musket. It just depends on like where the damage ends up lying. Because the musket inherently has a advantage with going glass cannon because it could play from range and isn't subject to taking damage. But then if musket becomes popular, muskets don't usually have access to grit, and then scorpion becomes popular to counter the musket, and then you kind of go full circle. So that's not a good solution to the problem. It's cursed. I mean, that's a meta. That's how metas form, right? Or metas evolve. Like if you have uh right now with tanky people, they get countered by uh Crescent, and then say Crescent gets countered by Musket, but then Muskets get countered by tanky people. Like that's good. And it's not forced too. It's not like Throne of Liberty where it's forced. Scorpion requires 100 times more skill than Crescent Wave though, so I'm fine. I mean that's just how you get like a meta like going, right? Like the musket's probably not gonna have grit. Scorpion does a lot versus that. But tanks aren't gonna chase after muskets. Well, tanks can survive muskets in theory, and tanks can use Scorpion Sting on muskets to pull them out of position and kill them. Or like, say musket dies to throwing hatchet, because throwing hatchet has access to an extra life, and musket is stationary, so you can hit it with a throwing hatchet. You know? For me personally, like I would rather be like a higher time to kill meta than like the current meta, but I could definitely see like from an OPR standpoint, it would probably it's already kind of annoying with the healers not generally being as good. Musket outranges Hatchet by far though. Yeah, but then Hatchet has an extra life. That's like the part that's like different. It's like hatchet. Like if hatchet's within range, hatchet can win the duel. But yeah, an open world musket's probably better. But then if you can like close distance, hatchet could be better. So that's the part where you start getting like metas where you start countering each other, right? Where it's like, oh, now I need my musket to survive the hatchet. Maybe I need to start using defensive perks there. Like that's the part that's kind of cool with the new system. It's like it might not necessarily just to go like complete glass. It might be this to just go complete glass, but it depends like where the chips kind of fall. But no, musket in theory sounds pretty good because you can do your powder burn. That powder burn will then proc the elemental dot on top of the powder burn. So then you're doing the 10% weapon damage for 10 seconds. You have the void gauntlets. I think it's like 8% damage right now. I should probably look that up. Where are you? I don't see it. I passed it. I just type in void gauntlet. Easy. Yeah, this is doing disintegrate for 8 seconds on both weapons. And then disintegrate. Disintegrate is a 5% dot. So then we have musket attack, say it's scaling at 100%. Plus we have effectively 100% over 10 seconds. And then we have a what? It's doing 5% for 8 seconds. So that would be 40% over 8 seconds. And then we also have the powder burn, which is doing I don't even know how long this lasts. How long does powder burn last? %15 for 13. So that's doing almost 2%. The match attributes will be 530. That seems low. It's definitely lower. I don't know if that's including food or not including food. This game is balanced around something at all. It's like barely balanced. It's not 7. It's 7 seconds? Okay. I'm gonna assume not a headshot. And then it's 15% over the 7 seconds. Which is 105. So you're doing like 20 to 25% more damage. And then if you're using an enrage set, then you have another 25% damage mod. You figure they're probably gonna like tune back like attributes somehow. Like they have to bounce the damage out some way. If the perks are really OP, they're probably gonna tune the attributes, but they'll find some way to make musket not one shot, hopefully. But kind of looking like musket might one shot. But this elemental charge that's like super interesting. Like that first bonus is like kind of crazy. And then the storing the 2 charges. I don't know if you could store the same type of charge or not. But like you can just go dink into dink and do a double dot. And then maybe people will get tired of the musket burns and the rework things and then like Vigor somehow becomes good. Both pen shot and rapid shot lost their staggers. Yeah, like bow has like access to decent burst, but it's not like good sustained damage. Like bow's mostly used as like a kill confirm nowadays, unless you want to go like poison shot, I guess. But I don't know. I don't know. So there's kind of a lot going on there. I am checking to make sure that this meeting I have in a little bit isn't right now. Yeah, it's in half an hour. Okay. Pen should have kept its stagger, but only on the first hit, in my opinion. The ability is pretty bad now. Yeah, I feel like staggers in general are bad. Like, yeah. Do you have any information on shields with Season 10? Currently, gear score is not as important, but curious how my dual resist 675 shield will hold up after Season 10. Thank you. There's not information directly on shields. There's some implied information. So we have perks that are V2, right? So we know that current stuff is generally going to be V1, unless they just make everything V1 into V2, but they didn't do that in the past when they like changed like refreshing or like refreshing ward. Like they didn't make like a new version of that. So I assume like it's still going to be like the same perk, but I also imagine they're going to reduce the potency of the perk on like the power level, because they have an example of here of enchanted ward somewhere. Or they have enchanted. Enchanted's at 2%, right? Enchanted right now is at 4%, so that's like half the value. But you could stack more of it. So like I imagine that they're gonna reduce the the power level of each individual perk on the shield. But we don't really have a ton of information about perks. It's mostly just from like these couple of screenshots, and a lot of it's like inferred. Looks like Divine doesn't get bonus to consumables anymore, assuming that it works the same on amulets. Yeah, for Divine version 2, yeah. You think most people are going to go lower con with attribute shrink, or are they going to go less damage and more HP? That's the balancing point. Like in terms of like optimizing like how to live, it makes more sense to kind of follow what the PvEers do. Go lower con, uh, go higher attribute points into your main weapon, and then slot more defensive perks, because that will effectively increase your effective HP more than just adding more con will per stat capita. So it's like, if I wanted to, like, say you have two extremes. Say I go 500 con, and I have, like, no damage. Like, it doesn't matter how many perks I slot, I'm still doing no damage. Say I go, like, lower con, and then I, like, increase my main scaling as much as I can. So I like go into focus, pump my focus all the way up. Like generally speaking, now I'll have more damage, and then in order to compensate for having the lower health, which is like half as much health, if not less than that, then I need to increase my defensive perks. So like I imagine people are going to err on the side of going more into the offensive stats and less in the con. Some exceptions for that, like if you're a complete utility role, you obviously don't need to do damage and you can up your con. But the problem with con is like the more con that you have, the more value your perks get, because you have more health for them to be active on. But then at the same time, like while con does give you more health, if you're constantly healed, you effectively also have more health. So as long as you're constantly being healed, it generally makes more sense to like not go fully into con and to like go more into offensive stuff. It's just if you're taking lots of like burst damage, then con is a necessity, right? So you probably won't like the smallest amount of con to survive burst that's consistent, and then put the rest into your weapon area, if I had to guess. Yeah, the raising by 10 would be a pretty nice thing to add, I'm not gonna lie. Kind of missed that. It doesn't seem like something that's that hard to do and probably should be added. Like, that was a thing, but it got lost. It's crazy how, like, in New World Buddy, you can literally just click the threshold, and that's, like, way better than the current system here. It got removed for controller support? Jeez. I mean, what they should do, like, if you can't increase it by 10, just make it so if I click the node, it puts that stat up to that node. Because, like, a controller can still click a node. So just have, like, the controller just, like, click somewhere on the bar, and it just increments this up to that point. Will you do a Season 10 update on Flail VG? Yeah, but it's probably going to be, like, after the season comes out, right? Like, we don't really... Like, I don't know enough to be able to, like, theory craft a this Flail VG. I would need to know, like, the perks, and I would need to know the set bonuses for everything, and I would need to know all the infixes, and, like, there's, like, too much information that's missing to really go for it yet. Did they give any info on which weapons map to each attribute? They did. So it's mixed. We know ints, we know dexterity. So if you, from Anwin, we have the dexterity modifier bar. So we could see, for dexterity, we have bow, we have musket, we have spear, that's rapier, that's warhammer for dexterity, a sword and shield, hatchet, fire staff, and some kind of stick thing. That's not a sword and shield. That's dexterity. So that's probably a great sword. Is the last one. Yeah, it's got to be a great sword for the last one. And then for int, we have IG, fire staff, void gauntlet, musket, rapier, life staff. Because we already did fire staff. That's a blunderbuss and that's a great axe. So life staff got added to ints. For dexterity, fire staff was added. Are there any other 100% thresholds? Oh, for we have great axe added to ints. What else is 100% scaling? Warhammer, great axe, bow technically is 100% scaling. Life staff, fire staff, IGVG. IG, we don't know what it scales with yet. We know it's not dexterity. So it's probably going to end up being focus. Bow's probably going to end up being strength. What does a life staff get by scaling with int? You get access to more damage. Your healing abilities will not scale with int at all, but you get access to more damage. Unless I'm lying. I don't think I'm lying. I'm pretty sure the heals scale directly with focus, but there's a chance that if you go more into int, you'll heal more, but I don't think it's that way. Bow is strength per Anwin, miicrow. We inferred that, but where should she say that? I asked her last night. She said strength. Oh. Okay. That's cool. I guess you got the leaks. That's nice. She leaked to you, but not to everybody. Didn't know Crush was like that. It was public. Source me. Yeah, exactly. It was public? I don't see it in the Discord here. It'd be funny if AGS said fire staff was focus S and int S. Yeah. It was in here? Oh, it was in here? Oh, okay, then we're good. Source miicrow's Twitch chat. Oh no. I take it conversion gems don't add int scaling now. If you, it's like it won't scale your healing by more, but you'll do more damage, I think. That'd be like a good test though. I don't think I actually have a life staff though. I might have one like a storage somewhere. But I don't think it quite works that way. I mean, if they're smart, they're gonna have the int actually scale with the healing. I don't know if they're smart though. It'll buff healing breeze, I think. I guess. I mean, why would you actually go into no a life staff though? Like, surely you just want the 300 focus to get like the max scaling with like other thresholds, and then you just go the rest in a con. But I don't know, maybe you go int. Like, what even is 25 int threshold? 5% damage to backstabs and random crits? Like, that doesn't matter at all. This doesn't really matter at all. Unless the base damage counts your allies. I mean, what else would they put for it? I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, you could fit it in. Like, you can't do con. Like, con doesn't have any scalar. Everyone in area talks about healing with Life Taker, says it scales off of focus, with Life Taker switching to int. I assume the healing part will not be good. Yeah. The healing for Life Taker won't. Oh, that's a really interesting point. Because Life Taker is switching to int dex, right? And a lot of times for PvE, people go Life Staff, Void Gauntlet. But that Void Gauntlet usually has Life Taker on. But if you use Life Taker with the Life Staff, you no longer get the scaling benefit, so you don't do damage. Life Taker's not good for healer anyway. Sweaty PvE healers will just use Fracture. Okay, yeah, that's true. That's actually, like, completely valid. Like, you just don't use Life Taker for PvE. Because I forgot, if you just use Void Blade, you just apply the same effect, so there's, like, no need to use Life Taker. What does Fracture do? I know it's a new one. Not that. Overflowing Essence heals for 100% more health, and Essence Rapture does 50% more damage on hit. Okay, yeah, that's better for healing. And Life Staff also means we have a new nature damage M1 stick. Yeah, that's true. Bring back Machine Gun Life Staff. Also, this is the first time AGS actually consulted y'all ahead of a patch. I know we had a beta for a previous expansion, but it seems like that was a positive change. There's testers for the patch that are, like, under NDA. But there was no, like, beta for this current patch. They stopped doing the betas for everybody because it, like, kind of killed the hype because we all knew it was coming, like, a month in advance. It's just a little bit less exciting. I wish Unmoved was changed to stop staggers as well. Yeah, it doesn't have grit, it just has uninterruptible. So you can't get pulled around, but you could still get staggered. I think that's most of the stuff that they talked about, though. We've also got, like, transmog stuff. Like, this other skin is, like, really, really good. The Void one. There's something, like, you could see it behind here. It's, like, looks really, really cool, and they showed it off in that dev video. This Prolonged Favor 2 perk sounds so interesting to me. Because I think buffs within the game are, like, it's relatively open. Like, what is a buff? Fortify, Empower, Haste, Last Chance. So all these would be increased by that. Weaken, Uninterruptible. Defy Death counts as a buff? I mean, I guess this doesn't last for that long. It's like half a second. But you could technically increase how long the Defy Death is. Berserk 50% longer, it's over. Is Berserk on here? Oh, Berserk is on here. um Cleanse lasts forever. I don't see cleanse on here yet. I see like cleansing water, but it's technically different. It'll make orb heal you for longer, probably breeze too, lol. Yeah, it would, it would. Both those are buffs. Oh, when you get healed by allies, you get healed for longer. So if someone like throws an orb on you and you leave the clump, you'll get healed for longer too. So you'll just get more healing. I mean, that just sounds like it's a better perk than like Divine, no? Like, why wouldn't you just take that over Divine and every time you pop like a heal over time, I imagine that counts as a buff. Yeah, recovery. Recovery is a buff. Oh my god. Well, that's a mount one. Conditioning's a buff. You get the conditioning effect for longer. Is Elemental Band dead enough for empowered duration to not break the game again? Yeah, Elemental Band is like they like heavily nerfed it. Apparently the potion surge thing counts as a buff, so this would take longer to come back up or something weird. That's not great. Heal. That's life staff. Health every second. That's healing breeze. Healing breeze is a buff. So the healing breeze will last longer. Like, I don't know, that's just crazy. That's crazy. These are all AI. The other one that's probably like worth looking up is like, let me look up like cleanse potion. Cleansing elixir gives the status effect cleanse. I don't think cleanse is listed under here. It is. Wait, no. It says the cleanse effect. I don't think it'll buff constant buffs, different category. Yeah, it looks like it's slightly different. Yeah, it's different. So it doesn't increase the duration of like cleanse potion. Yeah, 200 focus. Yeah, you're right. 200 focus would have made it last longer, and it does not. Are there any other ones like I guess like regeneration serums and like those kind of things to be worth checking, but I don't think the focus makes those last longer either. So this is like how crazy the builds get like really fast though. Regeneration serum adds this status effect. Yeah, there's no buff tag here. Is grit potion a buff? I feel like grit potion might be a buff. It adds this status effect. Uh, yeah, it is a buff. So it'd make Grip Potion last longer. Wait, is this a buff though? Yeah, this would have to have the buff category. I think the filter just went off. Yeah, the filter went off. It's not a buff. Okay. Okay, that's good. That's good. It does not break the game completely. Because that's a survival potion and uninterruptible, which apparently has a space between the two letters as an effect category, which is kind of funny. Um, small genie bug. Thoughts on letters instead of percentage? Um, it's supposed to be easier for new players to understand because new players like tier list. Or like it's easier to comprehend a tier list, but I don't know if it's that great. This low-key might be the best new perk, not gonna lie. It's really strong. Especially if you use like any buffed like effect like fortify related. Pretty sure most buffs will go infinite with 5 seconds with 5 stacks of this perk. I mean the it says it's like 8% at 726. So maybe it's like 10% at like 800 or something like that, or maybe it's just 8%. Like this is 3.9. Like you figure that probably goes up to like what, 4? That probably goes up to 8. So what's 8 times 5? 40. So you have 40% buff extension plus like 200 focus. A lot of buffs have very little margin to increase it anyway, like a 8-second, like max duration 8, base duration 6, like meh. I mean, that's true, but I don't know, like what if you had if you have a buff that lasts for 4 seconds and then you make it 40% longer, now it lasts for 5.5. So like it's not huge, but like say you have a buff that lasts 5, now it's 7 seconds, like that's a lot better. What's the max gear score? It's 800. You got new bleeding sweep that doesn't really last for that long. See if there's any other ones. It's not Josh, it's Joel. Keep forgetting. You could vortex and empower everyone for 8 seconds. No, this is just buffs to yourself. I don't think it's buffs to allies. So it would make it for yourself last that long, not to allies though. Wonder how AGS differentiated legendary named items. So like most of them are average except for Frigid Dawn and Life Ring, etc. I mean those are like illegal perk ones, right? Now all the illegal perks are legal, so that's the different thing with this next season. Deadly Flourish doesn't have a this perk is stronger on weapon. Hmm. So we have Enchanted Ward 2. You figure that probably goes to 2%. That's 750. We have Grit Ward 2, which is 1.9%. I feel like that's pretty weak for Grit Ward 2. Like, I would need to be like 2 to 2.5, maybe 3%. We still don't like know how you get grit. Hardcore we've seen before. Flame conditioning too. So this is higher. So we saw the other one for flame conditioning, like for a different conditioning, was at 3.9%. This is 750 gear score. It's at 4.3. So that means it probably can get up to at least like 4 or 5, probably 5%, which is on par with what you have right now. That's how it works with Vortex. It's weird. You could test it. Did you say illegal perks would be legal? Yeah, illegal perks are illegal. So if you look at one that's like really, really weird that Joel pointed out, is like look at this Warhammer. Like I have 2 skill slots in a Warhammer now. So I could like run 2 ability perks in a Warhammer. What the fuck counts as a traversal action? It's vaulting. That's just vaulting. Or like if you like jump to a ledge and climb up the ledge. I mean, that's like if you want to like jump over a box and like zoom. It's not just vaulting. It's anything you vault hop over. It's hopping too. The climbing makes sense. The hopping, that's a little crazy. Fort Toast lasts like 13 seconds with full extensions. Yeah, it's kind of nuts. If dodging counted, that's just constant haste. That's, I mean, that's crazy. But I think for like gearing out early on, it seems like if you roll gear, like you just have the two fixed slots and then you have the other open slots. Like I think it actually could be like super profitable to roll gear early on. I don't know what it will take to roll gear, but whatever it is, it's gonna like you look at this, it's like you still have to you get to choose the other perks, right? But you don't have to like do the grinding of going through an M3 or something like that. Like I could definitely see people just like picking up stuff off the market for cheap and just like using it. Versus like the PvE stuff has like one lock slot and like more flexibility. But like as long as these two perks are good, like you're totally fine just buying a crafted piece. Are we still gonna be rocking Shirking Heels? We haven't seen the Shirking Heels V2. It could be removed. We don't really know what the if that perk's in the game. Someone kept pointing out too, it was like we don't know if refreshing's in the game. They did get rid of the other kinds of refreshing earlier too, which is noteworthy. I highly doubt it's removed. For cheap, selling a 2 perk weapon, 500k. I mean, the thing is like this gear score thing doesn't really matter anymore, right? Like you don't really need the trophies. Like say this is like 700 gear score, so 730. Okay, you just like use a little bit more umbral shards and you upgrade it, right? Like who cares? Just like roll your own stuff. Or like there's probably going to be an event too, right? Because it's Halloween, so we're probably going to have the Halloween event. Like maybe the Halloween event like has decent gear and you just could just use that. Like you have Halloween patterns usually or something like those. You don't need to PvE to get umbrals, right? No, they show where you can get umbrals. Uh, umbrals come from mutations, raids, catacombs, elite chests, OPR, CTF, 3v3 arenas, and the PvP track. So you could just PvP and you get them. You could PvE too. So it's basically just dark matter with a new name. Yeah, but the thing with dark matters is like it wasn't really used to like upgrade gear like level like stuff. Like it's not like Umbral V1 like you can just go from like whatever gear score to whatever gear score. Like dark matter was like much more like locked in. Like you couldn't really use it as flexible. Like it wasn't as flexible. Like the items have like offense slots. I can only have offense charms. What the fuck? Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's like the gimmick. Oh, I mean, so like how you get it? Oh yeah. I mean, the noteworthy thing here is it's not from war crates, I guess. So if you're just like a war logger like me, like that's not like the easy way to get it. Like I don't think I ever really had to worry about dark matter because I just had war crates I could open. And the old umbrals were PvE only. Yeah, so you don't have to worry about that too. Noteworthy thing, it does not say source of M3s. So M3s are only used for gear, they're not used for umbrals. No, I lied. It says mutations. I can't read. It says mutations. It's literally the first one. I'm reading it now, Crush. I was looking for M3, not for mutation. I was dorking or derping out. Um, I would have thought it would have been like charm slots. It could have been offensive, defensive, or skill charms. Shit. I mean, the charm slot can roll offensive, defensive, or skill charms, but you can't like switch between them. Like you can't be like, I want a defensive here, I want an offensive here. Like no, you actually have to like get the gear that rolls with the right charm slot, and then you can swap the gear in or the stuff corresponding to that charm in and out. I kind of wish the grind would be a bit more personally. I mean, the grind here, I think, is having full 800 2 weeks seems to be too fast. I mean, I think the grind is like the set bonuses, right? Like you can get to max gear score, but you're not going to necessarily have this. And that's also you can only have one set to 800 in 2 weeks because it's like I think you can only do 5 per week effectively with this cap. All items will be bop out of mutations. Yeah, so you can't like sell the stuff for mutations really. Like you can't sell gear for mutations. Like the mutations is like only for you. Because it has loot biasing on. Bop, not bind and equip. No mutation stuff. So anything that has like loot biasing enabled will be bind on player. Mutations they added in loot biasing at one point. I think there's still a few drops within mutations that don't have loot biasing, but it's like if you were to get 10 drops, like 2 of them don't have it. Like it's like not crazy. A lot of different ways to grind it. It seems grind for the set bonuses, grind for specific artifacts, grind for perk charms, grind for M3s. Yeah. By the way, how do you have these screenshots? No, these are from the official Discord from devs. They were trying to clarify stuff that was there yesterday. So I'm looking at the official Discord. I'm searching for posts by the devs, and then I'm pulling them up to talk about here. Still change. I need more contacts. Bob, not BOE. I think it's like it could change, I guess, but I don't really know. So I could trade Umbral crystals to someone. I don't. I guess you could sell your run and give them the crystals from the run, but like I don't know. Like I don't think that's like a thing. Like I think it's like a currency, like how not like how gold is. I think it's like Azoth or something like that. Like you don't think you like really give it, but you probably could like run M3s and then just sell the last thing at the end or something. How many tiers of perks will there be? There's only T1 is all current gear, T2 is the new gear. So everything from the expansion will have a T2. There's no additional tier yet. Is there something visual on the set bonuses? Yeah. So there's like this thing at the bottom. So like this top part is like your gears, and then below that is like the set. They've shown off 4 set bonuses so far, and they've said that there are 8 total. I mean, let's be real. People are gonna like sell like raid drops at least. Like that's at least gonna be a thing because there's no way everybody is completing the raid. All right. The unfortunate thing is I have a work meeting in like 2 minutes, so I need to end stream like now. Uh, but I'll find somebody to pass you guys off to, at least. Why is Dusty streaming New World? Oh, hell no. Is he coming back? That's crazy. Do I host Dusty and I'm like, what are you doing? He shit on the game for 3 hours? If he did, I'm not hosting him. Okay, let me not host him then. We we go somewhere else. Got a meeting in 1 minute. Could do and dev. Clay is streaming. Is Clay in a war? Yeah, Clay's in a war. Let me do Clay. I've been doing and dev a lot lately. I'm trying to mix it up. All right. I'll see you guys later. Peace.